Plaintiff Kenneth Fleetwood is suing his former friend, Sarah Bailey, for unpaid loans and utility bills. Kenneth claims Sarah took in foster children just to earn extra money and then neglected the children. Sarah says she takes great care of her foster children and she never should have allowed Kenneth around them. Sarah is countersuing Kenneth for a stolen computer.
Kenneth, why don't you tell us why we're here today?
Well, Your Honor, I believe Sarah's a perfect example of how low a person will stoop for money. I know for a fact that she took foster children into her home strictly for the money. I also know for a fact that she left the children alone on one occasion by themselves. I also know that she moved her ex-husband, who's an ex-felon, into the house with the kids. What bothers me is Sarah knows that out of all her friends and family, I'm the only one that stood behind her. And for her to turn on me like this really bothers me.
All right, well, you must have loaned her some money along the way, but Sarah, let me ask you a question. When did you start taking in foster children?
I am not in it for the money. In fact, in the foster care system, foster parents really put in more if they're about it for the right reasons than we make. Yes, I look at them as roommates to offset expenses. So it was not for the money at all.
Wait a minute, you just said you look at them as roommates.
Well, as roommates to offset. Yeah.
You said you look at them as roommates to offset expenses. Are you kidding?
No.
You're supposed to be their mother.
No, absolutely, and I do a darn good job of it. I've got them in everything from enrichment exercises. I spend a lot more on them than I take in, but it was my thesis is also on the care of foster children and the system.
You know what? You got to be careful. We're not starting on the right foot here. You're not bringing them in for money, and you're not bringing them in as guinea pigs so you can write a thesis on them.
Plaintiff Kenneth Fleetwood is suing the defendant, Sarah Bailey, who he claims only takes in foster children to get the money.
I know these cases inside out, and I know what happens to kids in foster care.
Right.
They end up getting molested, they end up getting assaulted, they end up as runaways,
Absolutely.
and it's a nightmare from that point forward.
And absolutely, Judge, and that's exactly what happened under the care during the day when I had Mr. Fleetwood, who was my respite care, who I offered a job to since he was unemployed, caring with him while I worked during the day. I paid for his training in foster care.
You're offering him a job. He's the one suing you for money. What are you talking about?
Which blows me away that I'm here.
Kenneth, did you loan her money?
I loaned her $3,000 on one occasion, which she promised to pay me back within 3 months, and she didn't.
Did you have any kind of promissory note?
I have the check that says loan on it.
Why are you loaning her money?
Because she's been a friend for over 30 years. She was about to lose her home, her family home. And
who lived in this home with her?
Prior to her moving back into the home and taking foster care, she had rented it out. She came up with this idea to take in foster kids. She was going to try to refinance her home, and she came to me when I asked her for payment on my loan, and it was her idea. She said, "You could be my respite care provider." And I said, "What is that?" I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. I said, "Sarah, I haven't been around kids in a long time." She had worked for me years ago when I managed a clothing store. She said, "Ken, you were great with kids. They really like you, blah, blah, blah." I said, "But Sarah," I said, "I sent those kids home after 4 hours."
What? Okay, so you decide to take the job as a respite care worker.
As a respite care.
To assist Sarah in taking care of these kids. All right, hold on. Did you borrow $3,000 from him?
I did, for my mortgage, of which...
I don't care where it's for. Did you pay any of it back?
I paid all but $1,000 back.
Prove it. I want evidence.
Okay, I don't have a receipt for it. Judge, he's a princess, he's a whiner, he's a mama's boy. I thought he would work well with kids from his job when he was working in the retail business because he was very good with kids. Told him that, thought it was a way to have some income because he has
You know the guy for 30 years. Tell me you don't know what he's going to be like with kids? You love him, you have him trained for a respite care worker, and by the way, I'm not impressed. The only reason you needed a respite care worker was so you could go to work and go to school because you really didn't want to be with these kids.
Exactly.
I don't know why you're a foster parent to begin with. I really don't. And that's a classic example of why people do it.
And not only that.
Well, I'm not saying I'm taking your side, so don't start with not only that.
I understand that. But she then came back to me on April 21st because she had a tenant living in her house. Well, the tenant decided she wasn't going to pay the last month's rent because Sarah had a $3,000 plus deposit that she knew she couldn't afford to pay her back. So Sarah came back to me for a loan, and I gave her another $1,450.
How much did she pay you off the first $3,000?
$1,000.
Okay, can you prove that to me?
She did. She paid me $1,000.
Well, how do I know she didn't pay you $2,000?
She didn't.
No.
She didn't.
Sarah, is there any way you can prove it?
I don't have it. It was cash.
You can't either.
I can't prove that she paid $1,000.
He has been so vicious. I actually have a tape recording of his message to me on my cell phone telling me that he was going to make sure that he shut down my business and never had foster children again.
Hit that tape recorder.
Sarah, I will be there tomorrow at 8:30, 9 o'clock with the police to get my stuff. And if you don't let me get my stuff tomorrow, I'm going to call the agency and let the agency know who's living in that house and their police background and everything. You don't care about me. You screwed up for me. So I don't care about you, and I don't care about you having a meeting with anybody. That's your problem. You created the situation, so now it's time to fix it. I want my stuff out of your house. Period. End of subject. You were. Now I'm going to be the.
And that's exactly right, because when I moved into her house, she had no furniture. We moved my furniture and she came to my apartment. We can use this, we can use this. And she pops this on me at the last minute. There's no hot water. I had to put all the utilities in my name because she couldn't have them turned on because she owed money to them.
Yeah, we all know she owed money. That's why she borrowed it from you.
And another thing, when they came out to inspect for the house, who drove 30 miles, and picked up bunk beds, paid for bunk beds for those kids to sleep in? As far as the care for the kids, I happened to bring 2 letters from 2 other foster kids who explain who took care of them and what she did.
Did he do a good job there?
One of the children was molested during the day on his watch, and it quickly became evident he had bad instincts. In terms of the furniture, that was a major concern, because what I did not realize and I've never brought up Ken's lifestyle or at all through any of this.
I can bring up yours.
But what I didn't realize he was bringing in was a bunch of people that were in our jacuzzi that Ken entertained. There were a lot of porno tapes. If I had known that this kind of stuff would be around my children who were already at risk, I would have selected someone else.
Why did you leave them there if your kids were at risk? Why did you leave them there?
And by the way, the utility bills that were put in his name have not been paid for. They're still coming to my home. The only reason I had him put them in, I said, Ken, because you're disabled, you have no income, we can get a better rate on these.
So she owes you $2,000, according to you,
yes,
and $1,400.
And the utility bills. And can I say one other thing, Your Honor?
Yes.
She says that I was sleeping on the job. If you read those statements, the incident that she's speaking about referred to a family member of hers through her ex-husband and another one of the foster children. And what happened was, and this happened while she was there, her ex-husband was there, and I was there. Yes, I was in my room sleep. I had been with the kids for 10 hours. You came home from school and went directly to your room. So it happened on all of our watches.
What happened to the child?
One of the other foster children saw the 2 boys under the bed playing with themselves. And the next day they told me and her ex-husband, because they were afraid of what Miss Bailey would say, and they had a right to be. So when she was told, she went ballistic, called the police, screaming, yelling, cursing at the foster child, and I told her, you don't need to talk to that child that way. I said, first of all, little boys play with their penises from the minute they realize they have it till the day they die.
Ken, you would know.
That's a fact. It's
you
a
would
fact.
know, Ken.
And
you're
a teacher. You think you'd know that too. You didn't handle that. You did not handle it properly.
Ken, are you saying that the little boys who were under the bed, that one was not molesting the other?
No.
Defendant Sarah Bailey is being accused of being an unfit foster parent who only takes in children for the money.
How do you know if you were sleeping?
Because the other foster children told me.
Who are you? Who put your hand on your head?
Huh?
Who are you?
Gary.
Come on. Why are you here? What do you want to say?
He came and helped me move, and she went ballistic. Sarah called me at one point after I'd gotten myself completely out and told me her laptop was missing. And I said, what? She goes, where's Ben? Ben is her ex-husband, and he helped me move. I said, well, Gary's given him a ride to his mother's house in Santa Ana. My laptop is missing. He stole it before, and he pawned it. I want to know where he pawned it so I can go and get it back.
Are you suing him for the laptop?
I have a letter here from my husband, Ben, who, when Ken finished moving that day, I had been sitting on the couch watching these movers come in and out, and the laptop was gone. I had a friend with me.
Did you call the police and say that you had a laptop missing?
I made a report.
Do you have a police report?
I don't have it with me, but I have a report. What I have here is I did call Ken, and this is a statement from my husband that explains what he saw and whatever. I did not say even, and my husband went to help them move just to save the peace from the argument. But that's a statement from him saying what he saw, and the one gentleman that no one knew got out the truck, and we haven't seen him since, with a big sack.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
I was driving the husband to Santa Ana, and he was in the car. His cell phone rang, and it was Sarah. She goes, Ben, where's my laptop? Where do you pawn it? Because I guess he pawned the one before, and he hangs up the phone, and then she calls again.
I got it. Sit down. Here's the bottom line. Your husband doesn't say that he knows who took the laptop.
No.
So, and you don't know, you didn't see him take the laptop, and you think that it's possible that a mover took the laptop.
Well,
because they were a shady group?
Well, yes, and some of I didn't know anyone.
So sue the movers. That's dismissed. You're also suing him for mental anguish. What kind of mental anguish?
Well, when a family member of yours that's a child is harmed and you didn't know anything about it and assume that he would be the provider that he signed on to be, expected nothing more of that.
But if he had worked 10 hours that day, at some point, can he go to bed?
But 10 hours, well, when he's saying 10 hours, I go to work down the street, blocks away from the house.
But there are 3 kids, right?
There was, 3 kids.
4?
Including your grandson.
I never expected Ken to watch my family member.
How old is your family member?
He was 8. He is 8.
You think he's going to watch himself?
No, my husband was there working on the house.
Was the husband there?
Part of the time, and then he got a job working construction, which left the 4 kids with me.
What about the utilities?
Okay, if you notice, I've highlighted, they're all calls to Vegas, which is where her ex-husband lived before he came to live with us. All those calls are hers. And here's the DWP and the gas bill.
Sarah Bailey, another check for $3,000. Sarah Bailey, a check for $1,450. $275 past due. Los Angeles Water and Power, $341. What do you have to say to that?
The gas bill and the DWP, those bills are not paid. Those that are in his name are still unpaid, still coming to the house, and are only for the period that Ken lived there.
At the end of the day, what we've got here are 2 people who were friends for a very long time, who end up fighting over money, and I think you said it right in the beginning, Ken. I think, Sarah, that what you tried to do was work, go to school, you needed some extra money, use the foster care system, and just as I predicted, somebody got molested in there. I don't know if he was sleeping or not sleeping, but I'll tell you what, it seems to me that this was a quickly slapped together environment for foster care kids, a way to make a buck, which is the problem that we have in this country with the foster care system. We have people who see these kids as nothing more than dollar signs. They end up getting molested, and you are responsible for anything that happens in your house. You can't turn around and blame him and say he was sleeping. You are responsible. All right? Now, I feel sorry for these kids. You're going to have to pay for what happened to those kids sooner or later. And I may not be the person to make you pay, but don't ever put yourself in the position of a parent and not try to be a parent to them. I'm going to award the verdict on behalf of the plaintiff for $3,830. You're suing for mental anguish. You know what? The only people who should be in here suing for mental anguish are those kids who had to live with the 2 of you.